We made this.
Hello and welcome to Chucky Vision, the podcast about Chucky, Child's Play, and all things to do with Charles Lee Ray and the Evil Doll, right here on the We Made This Podcast Network. My name is Mark Adams and I am your host this week, and with me at this time is, as always, my co-host Dev Elson. Hello, Dev.
Hello, everyone.
We are into series 2, properly now. This is episode 2 of series 2, and spoilers by the tone of my voice, I am absolutely delighted with this episode. It was entitled The Sinners Are Much More Fun. Now, Dev, before we go into it, did you enjoy this episode?
Yeah, we made a lot of wild predictions, but we made a lot of guesses of, I guess, the pacing and how fast we would get into various storylines.
And we got it wrong.
I think we got some things right. I think what we ended up doing was towing the line. I think we said, maybe this would happen, maybe that would happen.
I remember saying that I was like, no, we won't be seeing any of the legacy characters for a good 4 episodes. And this was mainly Jennifer Tilly.
But hey, I'm delighted that we're wrong.
Me too. Oh, mate. Just so much Tiffany. So much Tiffany this episode. And we were expecting it to be big, serious, let's have them in this school, let's do all this. And there was about maybe 30% in the school with the main protagonists, the people who are, as we established last week, the 3 principal actors. No, just lots and lots and lots of Tiffany. And I'm absolutely fucking delighted.
It definitely works for a number of good reasons. One, even the diehard Chucky fans like ourselves, it makes it hard to predict. Or it makes it less predictable, because we all assumed it would probably be similar to the pacing of season 1, that it would take a while for the legacy characters to come in. And, Dawn manages to surprise us all by bringing it in this early. And then it's also funny because it kind of shows us, and there's some smaller funny ways Don treats the whole setting of the religious school, in that it's, he's making a point, but it's really not that important, is it?
I mean, we did predict it would be pretty contemptuous towards faith, and it was.
It is, but it's also more of to me, it's less, oh, look how wrong they are. And it's more, we don't really have to listen to it. Let's just get out of the way.
Yeah.
But then the other interesting thing with the pacing is I think we maybe do need to get a bit more of these other storylines in early, because as we'll see in this episode, it's very easy for Chucky to kill these 3 since they're kind of quote unquote trapped in this setting. But we've got this interesting storyline where Chucky is biding his time for some reason.
I'm going to try and... I'm sorry, I'm just so damn excited that we've gone all over the place already. Should we try and be vaguely linear, or should we just splooge?
We were talking main episode 2 plots, main episode 2 points. True. But yes, let's go from the start. Before, I will say, even in the recap, I will note, I think I said, this is me paying zero attention to the show we're covering. I was like, how many Chuckies are there? Were there 85 or something? And he recaps again, there were 72. We don't know how many are left now. I think I said way more than that. However many it is, there aren't 72 anymore. But no. Eagle-eyed viewers, I believe someone even tagged us in it. Or did we see it on our feed, or did someone tag us directly? There have been some very nice fans tagging us in Chucky news.
Chucky News.
Chucky News.
People have started tagging us and stuff, which is very nice.
Yes, please more of this. We enjoy it.
Someone did point out in the last episode the bird's eye view of the noxious gas escaping from the house. You could see Chucky's face in it.
Yeah, very, very cool.
We didn't even notice that. Very cool detail.
It's great. So the episode opens with Tiffany and a Godfather reference.
Yes.
Which, I mean, that was brilliant. We still don't know how we got the bride that got her head shot off, but that's her head from the truck crash. Obviously, from this at least being implicit, the Chuckies didn't expect there to be a bride with them.
Yeah, it's this opening in a good way confused me because I know she brushes it off as just a bad dream until we realize it was real. But like for a moment, I was like, "Is this a bad dream of some sort?" Because not only is it the Godfather reference, and we see the bride head and what that implies, but then like we get this heightened reality of her screaming so loud that the ceiling mirror cracks.
I thought that was some kind of weird reference to the 2 kills with the glass falling.
Yes, I did note that as well. That is a wonderful wink to a Bride of Chucky. But still, the fact that her voice can literally do that.
Yeah, well, it was quite a scream as well, though.
It was, especially for a professional whisperer like Tilly.
Well, true. And another thing she does is rock that turban one more time. Oh,
she has some amazing outfits. She is fabulous this entire episode. Especially when she's just sort of Sunset Boulevard. The way she's kind of a recluse. She's that is really kind of a Sunset Boulevard because she's a recluse watching her own movies.
Well, they're not her own movies, are they? It's Tiffany watching.
Yeah, even then she's still climbing it up.
Yeah. And I think throughout this, I have to say it immediately. Jennifer Tilly, what an actor. And Fiona Dourif, what an actor. Holy shit. Everything they did in this episode was absolutely superb. Just love. So much love for both of them.
So, yeah, we have Tiffany waking up. It was a little unclear whether or not this is real, but then because she immediately starts to go make breakfast, which... not every meal being delicately made needs to be a Hannibal reference, but there's a lot of meals being very nicely made in Hannibal. And then she delivers it to Nika. We get to meet Nika again. And it's really sad that we get this routine of Tiffany acting really nice and lovey-dovey, and of course Nika has to put up with it and remind her every time that she is insane. And she even, just as I was writing my notes, she points that out herself. They've been doing the same old song and dance for a year now, and that is
a year.
That is sad for Nika.
I mean, it's pretty fucking grim, isn't it? But I want to talk about the way she, in inverted commas, summoned Chucky from Nika. I think that this is new law, or at least a new convention within it. I don't think there's... Can you explicitly summon Chucky from Nika with blood? That was...
yes, yeah. That was in season 1, yeah. It wasn't intentional in season 1. It was I don't know if you'd call it specific to Nika or it's just a voodoo flaw. But in season 1, whenever Chucky would see blood, he would pass out and then Nika would wake up. And so now, obviously, a year later, Tiffany has turned that into, like as you said, a kind of ritual summoning.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But it's interesting that she can now kind of control it. And I don't think either Chucky or Nika want her to be able to do that.
No, yeah, definitely. It is the way with Nika. Every time we get to meet Nika these days, as soon as we get to see her again, off she goes. And we get Chucky back. But then You know, it's not Nika, but we still get Fiona Dourif, so that's great. That is great how good her acting is, because she's not going anywhere. She's still on screen. We get more of the actress, but it's sad that one of her characters disappears so quickly.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Fiona Dourif is sublime in both roles. She's just so fucking good. Just love.
So we have this Anika that is, tired and done with it, and she's just trying to get through the days. But then we look this Chucky. I just love, because I don't know why my initial thought was, why does Andy know where Tiffany lives? But then I guess one of the many Chuckies that survived knows where Tiffany lives, and similar to his similar to his scheming in the boarding school, he isn't immediately killing Tiffany in her sleep, which is interesting. It suggests that he has something much, much bigger in plan.
It's kind of like a cruel torture thing, though, isn't it? The head, and indeed being in the bedroom and not attacking Lexi later on, it's psychological. It's trying to fuck with people, and I like that. I think that's very much what Chucky would do, particularly with these people that he has a genuine problem with. He'll kill you instantly if you're a rando, but he'll fuck with you if you're someone that he doesn't like.
I guess, we've talked about this, how Chucky is technically in his 70s. He is, in a way, immortal, so he doesn't want to just spend his days mindlessly slaughtering people. He wants to spend his time being creative, quote unquote. I assume they are, but I did wonder when we see Nika Chucky gloat about the head and how everyone's going to die, that wrong Chucky. I assume that whichever Chucky dropped that head in has been talking to Nika Chucky, or that is Nika Chucky being a very convincing bluff.
I tried to understand what you said, but there's so many different fucking Chuckies that I kind of went, oh, and my brain started to fail. I'm sure you made sense.
One of the truck Chuckies got the doll head and gave it to Tiffany. I'm wondering, has that doll Chucky been talking to Nika Chucky?
Right, okay, so Nika Chucky rather than Nika who's working with Chucky. Gotcha.
Yes, I mean, Nika, Chucky and Nika. Or, because I thought that afterwards. My initial thought when I saw that scene was Nika Chucky didn't know who put that there. He was just bluffing to fuck with her.
Unless he's working with all of the truck Chuckies.
Yes, but as we've established, they don't have a hive mind. So they've physically been in the room talking to him.
Yeah, but there's got to have been a truck Chucky there to transport the head, because Nika Chucky hasn't left the house. Right, gotcha. So confusing.
I'm saying, did they collaborate, or did that doll Chucky just nip in and out?
I
assume that they have been talking.
I think so, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incidentally, another thing on Twitter, this is a bit of a tangent, but I'm absolutely delighted that there's a promo photo with bald Chucky.
Yeah.
So he's coming back.
He's back.
Maybe it was bald Chucky who put the head in the bed.
Also, I need a Chucky news jingle for my predictions, because I make so many.
Okay, Chucky news.
Chucky news.
I've made a dozen predictions of how Nika gets outside in her escape, because we see.
Right.
I've said maybe she has a wheelchair, maybe she has robot arms. Still on the fence about that, but I thought, what if she's just getting dragged out by Chuckies?
Yeah, carried by Chuckies.
Which, my God, if they pull that off with the compositing, that is such a funny image. Of just
that's awful.
Just what's left of Nika just getting dragged along by two Chuckies.
Oh dear.
I just can't wait for that scene. She gets outside somehow. I just can't wait for one of my predictions to work.
I can't even remember what I predicted, let alone what you predicted. But I'll probably remember that. The kind of chair of Chucky's is a bold prediction, Devon. It is definitely a bold prediction. So anyway, the portraits, the flipping portraits as the fucking title sequence, they were so cool. Like, I know it's just such a tiny detail, but I really love the title sequence being different every week. I've said it loads of times, but the way that each portrait, when they flipped, it was Nika, then Chucky, then Nika, then Chucky. God, it's so cool.
And all the like, we've been seeing pictures of like old Chucky and new Chucky and stuff, and there's like all these like promotional photos from, not just the show, but like Curse and Cult as well.
Wonderful. So when you get an American show that has a very, very short title sequence, you then obviously get all the names of the cast that come up afterwards. And again, the 4 principal cast, there was a little bit of a spoiler here because it told you Devon Sawa was going to be in the episode, so you knew that you would meet Father Bryce. Fiona Dourif, we had already seen her. Jennifer Tilly, we'd already seen her. However, what it didn't have was Lachlan Watson. So I was like, we're not going to see Glenn and Glenda this time. Because I've become like that, really cynical with looking at that on American shows. So, yeah, we'll come back to that.
I can't really think of any examples, but I know that there are cases. I've definitely heard cases of TV shows can do that, but it's literally just a case of like the creators having the foresight to ask the actors. I've seen that with movies and stuff. If an actor doesn't want it to be spoiled that he's in the movie or something, then he can request his name not to be in the opening credits.
Right. Yeah, I think I know some shows have done that deliberately, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was just like, well, there's no Glenn and Glenda. And also, there's no Bound actors in it either.
Not yet.
That was, no. And we've still not seen Kyle. We're a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, a quarter. We got 3 quarters left of bonkers twists and turns.
Yeah. So let's talk about Nadine and Trevor, 2 new characters that, whilst not principal cast, are obviously going to be quite important new characters. And Trevor is exactly what I expected him to be. He is the incredibly dull, handsome American stereotype of a boy. Am I wrong?
I don't know if I would describe him as conventionally handsome, but yeah, maybe. He is... I don't know. I mean, I think the TV show itself described him well when they literally just called him Draco Malfoy.
But I don't know. To me, the blonde hair, the blue eyes, the kind of buff young man, it's just painfully attractive, which isn't attractive to me. And it was exactly what I expected him to be when it came to his appearance. Absolutely no disrespect to the actor. Well done for being handsome to most people. But he's the opposite of what I find attractive.
I guess some disrespect to the actor. I was going to say he's not unattractive, but he's kind of a weird-looking guy. I wouldn't say he's conventional.
No,
I mean, you can still see. Yeah, I can see how he's handsome, but it's kind of like, I don't know, like Brad Dourif, like kind of weird, but also not still attractive, but kind of weird.
I mean, when he doesn't look like Tommy Wiseau, it's like 30s, 40s Brad Dourif. Hot. Really
he
hot.
Is, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't. Where did that come from?
I don't know. But his character though, we'll learn it because that was one thing we also talked about. We knew these characters were going to come in: Nadine, Trevor, Father Bryce, all the sisters. We knew these characters were coming, but we were making predictions on what these characters would be, how they would play out. And for Trevor as well, they're setting him up. He doesn't make a big play in this straight away. He's getting kind of saved. He's a player getting saved for a bit later, but they've set him up in that he's that kind of holier than thou. Those really annoying pricks that like, because they think they're picking the high road, then they're better than you automatically.
Yeah, I found him really sinister, and I think
Hmm.
it was gently implied that he is more of a player than a
Yeah.
believer, in as much as he's playing the game right to get the fuck out eventually. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think he's genuinely a good guy now. I think it's all hiding, and he'll be one of those people that's sweetness and light to the teachers
Hmm.
and an
Yeah.
absolute horror behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I assume he'll still be
Although that could be the
like a
twist,
bully like that.
that
But
he is lovely now.
I mean, even if he's not behind people's backs a monster, I still think he is an asshole because he's doing that thing that I expected one of the adults to do, in that because he's found religion and you haven't, the way he talks about Lexi is like, don't worry, one day you'll be in God's good graces. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's insulting her in like not a direct way.
Very true. It was quite cold and calculated, as well as a little bit sinister, that he'd clearly prepared for her to do what she did and made her look awful.
Yeah. So we'll see what he gets up to. I assume he's definitely going to be on the chopping block as one of Chucky's later victims.
I hope so. So let's talk about Nadine, and she's just adorable. I think she's quite close to what I expected. Charming and weird. The kind of hairdo and glasses, the image suggested charming and weird. And kind of a very adorable thief.
I think our predictions combined were correct. I said that she was going to be a goody two-shoes Catholic, and of course she was, because, could partake in the Catholic morning ritual because she has to confess because she committed a sin. So she has to follow all the rules. But then, when they ask her about the sin, she has a coy little smile about, not telling. And that was something you said, that, she was probably going to be a fun character who kind of enjoys what she does, but, she knows it's bad.
Yeah, and I like that once they clocked that that's who she is, it was very quick that she'd be in the gang. And I think she's going to end up being quite important in this series.
Yeah, it's an interesting turn. Don's really good at writing these side characters where she seems to be set up as the degree of importance or the degree of significance that, like, say, Junior. So not the main cast, but someone who's going to appear in every episode. And you don't know if wherever this character is going to... If she dies, it would be a big death. But, like...
Oh, yeah.
Is she so important yet that she's above that risk? I don't think she is yet, so we have to watch out.
Yeah. We haven't had a big death in the first 2 episodes, let's be blunt.
No. Well, the death of Gary was pretty grim.
Oh, it was grim, but he was introduced in that episode. And so far, we've only had characters that have been introduced in an episode get killed. And I'd go as far as saying that Sister Elizabeth, who was the old lady nun, got killed in this episode. She was introduced in this episode. And I think she had maybe a little bit more character establishment than the maid who was killed, who got a face full of dishwasher knives. But not really that much. The maid was likeable, as well as... although I can't remember the maid's fucking name, can I? But Sister Elizabeth was really, really clearly a very sweet old lady who was about as nice as a nun can be. And, yeah, she died, didn't she? And it was the death we talked about in the trailer.
Yeah, that is very good. Before we get to that, though, we get introduced to all of these sisters. And it may take us a while just to get some of the names right, because there's 3 sister characters here. Well, -1 by the end of this episode.
Well, there's Sister Bitchface, who I can't remember.
Sister Ruth.
Sister Mean, Sister Ruth. And Sister Catherine was lovely. There we go.
Yeah.
Catherine is nice. Ruth is a bitch.
And we get Sister Elizabeth, who was also nice. She gets one great little line where she talks about Lexi's makeup. You look like Madonna and not the good one.
That was a brilliant fucking line.
Which that really made you like at ease. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but like, I knew then Don was going to have fun with this setting. Like, it wasn't going to be all doom and gloom Catholicism.
Yeah, it's not too earnest, overly critical, at least not so far. There was the reference about, Catholics don't like the gays when Devon and Jake were talking. But Catholics don't like the gays. What I'm saying is I don't think they over-egged it. But as a young person, a young gay man at a Catholic school, it's a legitimate concern and it had to be mentioned. But they haven't made it fucking grim, which is good.
Yeah. It will come up at some point. Them keeping it secret for now is definitely the setup to that payoff, because it'll take a while for us to know if these religious authority figures are on the up and up, whether or not they're down with modern views like that. I don't know if Father Bryce will be yet.
I find this fascinating because during this conversation, Jake's really, really concerned about being sent to juvie. And for me, I don't know. I feel that as juvie is secular, I think I'd have preferred to be there than a religious school. I think I'd have struggled more at a religious school because I'm so atheist. So it's an interesting one that juvie is seen as the scarier of the two. I don't know which I'd cope with better, but my inkling is I'd want to go to juvie rather than this.
Well, I think we talked about this in one of the preview episodes. I think we said that in real life, a lot of boarding schools like this are pretty modern in their views. Like, teachers and stuff are only like 33% actually hardcore Catholic and stuff. So this is definitely a TV version of a boarding school, isn't it?
And maybe Sister Catherine kind of represents that because she's clearly cool and fun and down with the kids.
Yeah.
And I want to very quickly go back before we forget about it. You said your favourite line by Sister Elizabeth was the Madonna line. But I'll take your Madonna line and I'll tell you saw the Lord's face in a taco. I mean, fuck. Absolutely magnificent.
Yes, before yeah, I had that in my notes as well. Let's not ignore the introduction to Sister Ruth here, which we I think just last
I'm still laughing. Carry on.
I think just last episode I said, how can we have two characters, Sister Ruth and Father Bryce, both be the stern authority figure, like the uptight authority figure? And very quickly Don establishes, like, oh, Sister Ruth is kind of off a rocker. Like, she sees the Lord's face plain as day in a good guy doll. Which, even without the whole Charles Lee Ray thing, even if that's just a doll, that's ridiculous.
Isn't it?
But I love her her uptightness is definitely getting played for laughs. The fact that you kind of get an idea of how uptight she is when Father Bryce keeps passing everything off onto Sister Elizabeth, and Sister Ruth is like, actually, I taught them that. Like, she's a real suck up.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, I'm gonna miss Sister Elizabeth. She was there for like almost no screen time, and she did get the iconic death that we knew was coming. And thank you, brilliant. But I'd have liked to have maybe seen a little bit more of Sister Elizabeth. I think she may be up there as one of my favourite supporting cast of the entire series by the end of it, because she was great.
We do get that one moment that wasn't spoiled, where she's holding up the cross, and Chucky.
I know.
Chucky makes a reference to vampires, which is a cute little wink to everyone discussing how exactly the lore behind Chucky works.
So there's quite a lot of kind of gay shit in this episode. We talked about the hiding their relationship from Catholics, but there's also some I don't know whether I didn't like this gag or not. When Devon was told he was underweight, he said thank you. And that's quite a gay stereotype about body image, isn't it?
I wondered if you were going to pick that up. That felt not out of character, but has he ever really acted like that?
I don't
Not
know.
really, has he?
I get it. No.
I understand how that is, a gay, not the weight thing specifically. That's a very gay line to give a gay character. But that's a kind of, a side character like from Bride of Chucky, or, the best friend in, which film was it now? Freaky, I think. Freaky had a gay best friend character. And like when those characters have those lines, they're spitting those lines out like every scene, aren't they? Like they act like that. They love giving lines like that. And Devon is not a character who's known to make gay quips like that. I think the reason that, and I think there's a couple moments like that, not to that degree, but I think there's a couple moments in this episode that are like that. I think that is Don trying to accentuate the difference between Jake and Devon here. That Jake is someone who is willing to try and pass us straight because, he doesn't want to deal with that here. Whereas Devon is someone who, like, he's not ashamed. Like, not that Jake is ashamed, but like Devon, like, he doesn't want to hide it at all. I think he might deliberately maybe be playing it up there just to see if these people pick up on it.
I think that's probably true. I think the storyline is that Jake has stayed quite uncomfortable with his own sexuality, whereas Devon, being in a relationship with Jake, has allowed him to flower a little bit. And he's now embraced his sexuality and is more openly gay or bi. But I think he's more comfortable, and I think he's embracing his sexuality, which a lot of people do when they come out.
Yeah.
I mean, I was guilty of it. I was told that I rocketed out of the closet.
I think if there's definitely going to be, because, let's not forget this is a drama series, and drama needs conflict, like real character conflict. I think this is building to a point between Devon and Jake that, as you say, Devon is blossoming, whereas Jake, because, Devon had his real mum who was quite supportive. He's had his foster parents who are quite supportive. And Jake has a history of parental figures that aren't as supportive. And so I think you're right that he is pushing it down a bit. And I think this will come up in a head, like a real argument between the two.
Have you ever dated someone who's closeted to their parents?
No. Have you? How is that?
It's tough. It is really, really tough. You want to be supportive.
So, yeah.
You want to be the nice guy. You want to look after the person, but it hurts. It's not easy. It is not easy at all, and it has affected potentially good relationships that I could have had in the past. So I think it is something really interesting that I hope they explore, that someone who's comfortable with their sexuality dating someone who isn't comfortable with their sexuality is a really interesting thing to explore, at least for me, because I've struggled with it in the past and I don't know how well I handled it. And it's very difficult for everybody involved. And I really like the idea of them exploring this in the show.
Yeah, it's the same situation in the movie Happiest Season. The one with Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis.
I don't, I'm afraid.
It's a great movie. They're together, and Mackenzie Davis invites Kristen Stewart to have like a Christmas weekend with her family. But then Mackenzie Davis has never told her family that she's gay. And it's it's the same kind of argument that we're talking about. The fact that you understand why she doesn't want to get hurt by her parents. Not like her parents, it's a light Christmas comedy. It's very nice. But like her family are all really lovely. But she is afraid, like, what if they don't like her being gay? And you understand that. But on the other side, you understand Kristen Stewart's side, which is that, like, you may be fine pretending, but you're making me pretend as well. And I don't want to pretend to not be gay.
Yeah, it is tough. And it can and does genuinely affect relationships that could be good.
Yeah.
But hey, it's an interesting one, and I really do hope it's something that they explore further as the series goes on.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that is what Don is interested in, and it shows even in the direction. I love how Father Bryce, when he's showing him around, like his whole conversation about youths and vices and all of that, like it literally just drones him out as they have a conversation about being gay. Like what he's talking about
The
isn't
straight
important.
and narrow. There were some good shitty lines like that in it. I think this episode was particularly heavy on that kind of dumb shit that you just raise your eyebrow and go, tee. And they're actually during a conversation after they'd spoken to Father Bryce. That guy reminds me of my dad. What a shitty line that was. Brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah, they get that out of the way. Let's talk about some of these later scenes then with Father Bryce. We'll get into his character. I think, much like his characters in season 1, and unlike some of the characters like Sister Ruth and stuff, it's a little harder to tell where they're going with his character, isn't it, at the moment? Because he's towing the line of like tough but fair, but how fair? You don't know quite yet.
No. It could go either way, couldn't it? He could be quite decent, or he could be the very severe guy who punishes with a cane or whatever.
Yeah, it seems like it's going all the way up to that point, but not quite. He doesn't. He doesn't punish Jake in this scenario, in this first instance of him acting out, and that suggests that he isn't that kind of old school corporal punishment authority figure. But on the other hand, he is very religious. Like you get you definitely there's not an act with him. He is through and through. He thinks that God's way is the right way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, that will be the big factor when I guess. And then it depends. Yeah, I doubt a character like him is going to learn about Chucky. Do you know what I mean? Like the real Chucky, because unlike the Wheelers didn't either. They they only knew Chucky was alive when they were getting murdered by Chucky. I think it might be the same case with this guy.
Yeah.
The real revelations with this Father Bryce will be how he deals with, I guess, them being gay.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think finding out about Chucky would kind of complicate that. Actually,
he has talked about what do religious people do when they come across something real like Chucky. I wonder which other characters would learn about Chucky beforehand. Oh my god, yeah, that's what they're going to do with Sister Ruth, isn't it?
What's that?
She's going to be like that character in Cult of Chucky, the one who thinks that Chucky is her baby.
Oh shit.
Sister Ruth is probably going to think Chucky is Jesus.
Because she said that it's the face of the Lord. Fuck. Oh, that would be so deliciously offensive. I hope you're right.
And I guess kind of like the doctor who is in charge of in Cult, Father Bryce is going to be the guy having to deal with more and more things going insane in his church.
Yeah, interesting.
Although it is interesting, I like how Don gets to the point of, like I said last episode, about secrets. Father Bryce already knows about the Chucky backstory that everyone else knows, that Chucky was blamed on these deaths.
Which is an interesting parable to Child's Play 2, where the foster parents in that knew that there was this kid who'd blamed a Chucky doll. I like that. I like how it's kind of almost like history repeating itself.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to get played out, because I think, that will be kind of the relationship, however it develops, between Jake and Father Bryce. That Father Bryce, from his perspective, Jake is blaming a lot of this violence on a doll when it may be coming from him. Because, we have that scene where Father Bryce walks in on him threatening a Chucky doll, and then the Chucky doll disappears. So it will be that fascinating towing line where Father Bryce will maybe punish Jake, but only because he is concerned that Jake is dangerous.
Yeah, and I already think we're going to have a third Devon Sour death by the end of this series. Definitely.
Oh, yes.
That guy reminds me of my dad. Fucking hell. I love that that's the explanation. It's not that guy looks exactly like my dad. It's that guy reminds me of my dad. Fucking great. Absolutely fucking great. Delighted by this ridiculousness.
So we have jumped around a little bit. What do you want to deal with? Which thread do we want to go down? Chucky with the trio or Tiffany?
Tiffany. And Tiffany has spent Jennifer Tilly Simpson's money. I mean, lines. This episode is just full to the absolute brim. Wonderful.
Much like Seed of Chucky, they are really mining Jennifer Tilly's career for jokes here.
It's naughty.
Some eagle-eyed fans actually did clock this reference was going to happen. They saw some photo or something of Jennifer Tilly in the Liar Liar outfit, and they were like, oh, there's going to be some kind of reference to that. This is more than a reference. She's literally quoting her lines while watching Liar Liar, and we see the Jim Carrey on screen. But that's great, though, because I would say in real life, her three big movies are Bound, Chucky, and Liar Liar. So it's
that's
good that, after all these years, we finally got a reference to Liar Liar. I was going to say, maybe it's just a setup because, she's lying to herself and she's evidently lying to some degree to her own kids.
I mean, are we going to see a Jim Carrey cameo? Probably not. I think I remember predicting that the two actors from Bound are going to be playing themselves, and they're going to have Tiffany pretending to be Jennifer Tilly and struggling. But I'm not so sure I agree with that anymore because of the scene she had with the police officer. And she's already kind of done that gag that I was suggesting she would do with the actors from Bound,
Yes. But then, to a greater degree, with her actors and her own sister, possibly, yeah. I'm definitely not against them all playing characters because then Don writes good side characters. So that could be really fun in its own right.
But in that scene, Tiffany's panic, where she was trying to get him to go away, it was fucking great. And it reminded me a lot of the actual doll panicking like that in Bride of Chucky. And it was great to see. Well, it was great to see her doing it as her, Jennifer Tilly with Tiffany. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I will say, though, after all those fat jokes in Seed, very nice of Don to say that Jennifer Tilly had 100 million to her name.
Yeah, but also that she spent all the Simpsons money.
Yeah, I don't understand how she can spend 100 million. That is a lot of money. But then she is fabulous.
And she is fabulous, you're right. Oh, dear. And did you notice the decorative ball gag?
Yeah. If she's spending money on every little thing like that, then yeah, I can see how it adds up. But then there's a little setup for later, though. One thing she isn't spending money on is Wall Out of Chloroform. How did that happen?
You run out of milk, you run out of chloroform. It's easily done.
But that's interesting. That could be something, she's chloroforming Nika all the time, but is a little Chucky coming in at night and chloroforming Tiffany?
Oh, good spot. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Huh. Good spot. I think that might be true.
We get a lot of nice little subtle references and stuff here. I like the callbacks to, I guess, the tie back to Cult of Chucky with the detective, following up on the crimes that happened in that asylum, because it is quite odd that a paraplegic woman just walked out of a mental asylum after killing several people.
let's go back to the school. Right, I'm rubbish at spotting good camera work. It's not something I've ever been really good at. But I really enjoyed both of the shots with the lockpick and the chimney that involved Jake. I really enjoyed those. I thought they were really cool.
Yeah, we do on this show have a tendency to say Don Don Don, this is the Don Mancini show. But I think we pointed out in season 1 that this is where Don really started letting other people have their hands on Chucky. And yeah, this episode was directed by Samir Rahem, and he did a really good job. There are some really good shots in this. Just subtler stuff, like, as I say, with when Father Bryce was talking, doing his old speeches and stuff. I think, just that kind of directing cover. Not only just that speech then with Jake and Devon, but like also just like at the beginning when they walk into the church and he's given his sermon, but we don't really hear the sermon because of like music playing over it. So there's like subtle directing there that they're not just plonking us down and making us listen to church sermons.
I think if I notice good directing, it's definitely really good directing because I'm rubbish at spotting that kind of thing. So, another thing that I liked was I've stopped behaving like this because it's not a nice thing to do. But Lexi's reaction to Nadine's praying with the mock prayer was exactly what I would have done at her age. A little bit obnoxious, a little bit disrespectful. And again, really, really well done by the actor and really, really well done by the director. I think as you get older, if you're an atheist, you become less contemptuous towards people of faith, as long as they're not cunts. Obviously, if you're a cunt who uses your faith as a weapon and an excuse to be a cunt, that's very, very different. Whereas Nadine, there's no malice in her, there's no hatred, there's no using her faith as a weapon. So I personally wouldn't treat someone like Nadine the way that Lexi did, but I would have done when I was Lexi's age. So I thought that was a really nice little subtle thing about how atheists tend to be.
And it works with a character, Lexi. It's nice to see that it's not a complete 180 from season 1. Like, just because now she's in this world of Chucky, she's suddenly a nice person.
But I really like the fact that it wasn't completely one-sided. As an atheist, she was clearly mean, clearly disrespectful, and clearly a bit of a shitbag with the way she behaved towards Nadine in that particular instance. And I'm glad, because I didn't want a absolute Catholic bash with no kind of pushback. And I think that kind of thing is important because we ain't fucking perfect. We are not. We can be contemptuous. We can be condescending towards people of faith, and maybe we shouldn't be.
And you do get that from all three characters, not Jake and Devon as directly, but, they don't care about what they're being taught. They don't want to be here, and they don't, necessarily, care about religion. But again, you get those scenes like the one where they're being taught by Sister Catherine, and it's not a arms crossed, we're not listening. Jake actually, they're talking about art, and Jake knows something about art, and so there is a connection that is, kind of about religion.
Yeah. I think it's really good, and it definitely needed some balance rather than just gay atheists having a big fat smash on the religious types. So I'm glad that they did that. Tied Up Chucky was fucking awesome.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I guess Chucky, we just saw Kamikaze Chucky, but now
Scout Chucky.
We'll have to see how much this Chucky wants to stay alive.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously Kamikaze Chucky was comfortable with sacrificing himself for the greater bad. But, do you see what I did there? But, I don't know. This Chucky is a scout, so it's almost like they're like the Smurfs. They've all got a job.
Yeah, when Jake says, I think I know what he's up to, I don't. But I think maybe they've started to con on that not all of these Chuckies are clones. They're not all exactly the same. That if this is,
Yeah,
a
and
subservient Chucky to a bigger Chucky.
to the prime Chucky. And is the prime Chucky Nika Chucky?
Ooh, possibly? Possibly.
Because he will be the oldest living Chucky.
Yeah, he would be the
because
oldest,
the
yeah.
original Chucky was head in a cupboard Chucky, who was killed, definitely by Kyle. So actual original Chucky that got resurrected in 2, 3, 4 is dead. And I think the oldest Chucky now is Nika Chucky. I think that's right.
Yes, that seems right. And that would make at least some sense in the sort of hierarchy if they're going by. And they've, Brad Dourif has talked about how he voices the newer Chuckies differently. And that would make some sense with the whole backstory of the School for Wayward Boys. Charles was the older boy leading the younger boys.
True. So maybe it is Nika Chucky that is the mastermind of it all, the prime Chucky.
Well, we'll have to find out. I mean, as I say, Jake seems to know what Chucky is planning. I'm not as sure what Chucky is planning. He's scouting for someone, another Chucky. But then at the same time, he did pull a knife out and raised it above Jake. I don't know if that was just for self-defense, though. I don't know if Chucky could ever claim self-defense after that many murders.
No. Dear. And right, we're going to go back to Nika Chucky because Nika Chucky is working with Nika, and that's the big reveal at the end of the episode. And I was like, Nika, no.
You said at the start of this episode that we got all our predictions wrong. I very vividly remember predicting or hoping that we would have Nika conversing with Chucky. I'm very glad that we got that so early on as well. That we're going to get to see more of that relationship.
Yeah, it's definitely a convenience working with rather than a desire to do so, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And yeah, that's the only thing. I love the setup. I love the reveal that is happening. I just want to get more of it because this one was a little bit like... The dialogue was a little bit just like, we need to set this up, like clearly what it is. Like that they had that conversation of like, I just want you out of my head. Well, we've got to work together. Like, this is a year later. They've probably already had this conversation.
Yeah.
Now we've got that explanation stuff out of the way. Now, the next time we'll see them together will be a really, probably juicy scene.
And I know we've gone all over the fucking place in this episode, and I maybe I should apologize. I'm just so fucking excited. As much as I loved episode 1, this has just blown me away because there's so much Tiffany, and I was so happy. And Tiffany's kill was the classic Tiffany kill. It's so naughty that after she was like, you should be creative in your kills, she's never creative in her kills, and this just continues and continues and continues. It's great.
Well, I mean, this was in the same way arguably a self-defense kill. She did not have time to prepare this.
No. And then the cliffhanger is the they, them car, and Glenn and Glenda arrived. And I was like, oh, they didn't put them in the credits, and there they are, both of them. And so happy. With next episode, we get Glenn and Glenda. I can't wait. Oh, Dev, I'm so excited. And I mean, just imagine, like, 2 or 3 years ago, as fans of Chucky, the idea that we would ever see Glenn or Glenda and or Glenda ever again, you'd have just laughed, wouldn't you? And there they are, in their pink they, them mini, and roll on next Wednesday. Gimme.
It's going to be very fun. And also very fun because it's a fun setup. The fact that apparently Tiffany doesn't want them to know she's murdering people. So we've got that to look forward to.
It could go back to the addiction thing from Seed of Chucky, couldn't it?
Yeah, we'll have to know. We'll have to know the exact context.
They've not played with that or referenced that at all in the TV series, that in Seed Tiffany was, at least metaphorically, fighting against an addiction as a killer. And you can see how, if we're carrying on with that metaphor, a lot of alcoholics will tell their family that they're not drinking when they are. And that's probably where this is going. At least that's what I think.
I think you're right. I was just thinking that, and you put it in a very good way, a very good way of saying it. Yeah, I think maybe that is it. But we still have that line in the trailer that is a bit odd, of them saying, Mom is a killer, when they should technically know that. But then I'm sure when we get to it, there'll be a very quick, very concise 1 or 2 lines that explains everything.
Now, what's interesting is my memory of the trailer, and I haven't rewatched it, but my memory of the trailer is that she greeted Glenn and Glenda at the door and you didn't see the body.
They definitely edited that a little bit different. There's the shot of her saying, I think of what she says exactly. You get the shot of her saying something when she's knelt down and you can see the blood behind her. But yes, you are right. There's a shot of her opening the door and saying Glenn and Glenda that in the trailers, and that isn't what happens in the episode.
They've done a marvel, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
Didn't I even suggest that they might be doing a marvel at one point?
I think you did, yeah.
We have done so well. We have done so fucking well. No, we haven't. We've been best 50-50.
We've just been shooting all our shots.
Yeah, we've thrown a lot of mud and some of it stuck. But no, I'm glad that I wasn't going bonkers. I definitely thought it was a different to what we saw in the trailer. And you know what? I'm not mad. And I wasn't mad when Marvel did it, because I kind of liked the surprise of it, of what we were expecting compared to what we got. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Oh, Dev, what a fucking roller coaster episode that was. I just loved it. I loved it so much. But I just love Jennifer Tilly and I love Tiffany and just brilliant. There wasn't a dull moment.
No, it was all fantastic. Just to cap things off, since we're rounding things up, I can't ignore the great little character moment of after Sister Elizabeth died, and Lexi and Devon have that nice little dialogue about Chucky taunting them by doing nothing. It's diabolical. It would be diabolical, but then Chucky can't help himself, but then look up and give the double fingers to him, just because Chucky is very unsubtle.
And that's the thing, the films are child's play films, and in a lot of ways Chucky is childish and is quite gleefully childish in the way he handles a lot of things. And there's something incredibly wrong about a doll flipping the bird, almost as wrong as a doll killing people, which, now I say it, is a peculiar thing, but you know what I mean? It's very subversive.
Chucky loves being subversive, though, and so does Don.
And right, when you were a kid, right, if you went round a girl's house, or at least maybe I'm a terrible person, but you'd kind of rearrange their dolls so it looked like they were fucking. And it's very along that level of childish, isn't it? What am I saying? I still do it now. I'm a geek. I've got friends who collect geeky shit. So I've had the alien shagging Buffy and stuff like that when my friend Clive's back was turned at his house, and I can't resist. I'm in my 40s and I still set up dolls to look like they're shagging. And that kind of childishness Don's knocking 60, isn't he? So from a man who's even older than me being that childish makes me happy.
Well, Don has already literally rearranged his dolls to fuck in a movie.
Well, true. Dev, it's been great chatting about this. And it's not quite the same as being face-to-face like last week, but I just love this show. And this episode in particular was fucking great. And I can't wait for more.
Yeah, if they keep this up, then every episode is going to be fantastic. And I'm sure they will.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't a bum episode in Series 1, was there?
No, and it was the same thing. I mean, we were surprised by, some of the changes, the legacy characters coming in this early. Obviously, there's still going to be surprises that way, but it's this, it's the same way in the sense of we've had an establishment. Here's the trio at school or in town, and then here's the trio in this boarding school. But then season 1, every episode kept surprising us with where it went, and it went in insane places, such as Nika in her current state. So season 2 is going to be the same. Who knows what's going to happen by the end of this?
Yeah, and I think even though I was gently disappointed that the 2 seasons have 8 episodes each rather than, say, 12, 13 of them, like you might expect, I think that the tight 8-episode run actually does it a favour, in as much as they have to keep it kind of taut and keep it going to get where they want to go.
Yes, the tautness was something I had been thinking about when I watched the second episode. How I remember with season 1 thinking, we made the point, there's a difference between a 90-minute movie and an 8-hour TV show. There's so much more Chucky, and there is. But I feel this time around, we're feeling that, this isn't going to be forever. Do you know what I mean? Like, we are barreling towards a finale already.
Yeah. And do you know what? I like it. So thank you for joining us. Are we going to do plugs? Can we be asked? No.
We do the same plugs every week.
Yeah, I'm at Mark Adams HC, at Absolute Travis T, at Chucky Vision, blah. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Chucky Vision, and until next week, wanna play?
You gotta do Wanna Pray. That was in this episode.
Oh shit, yeah. All right, I'll do it. Wanna pray?
There we go.
Chucky Vision is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This Network. Follow us on Twitter at CHUCKYVISION. Follow the network on Twitter at WMT_network. Our website is WeMadeThisNetwork.com. The logo was designed by Dev, and the theme tune composed by Dark Fantasy Studios. Wanna play?
100 years since Nosferatu first terrified audiences on the big screen.
30 years since Francis Ford Coppola gave us Bram Stoker's Dracula.
And 10 years since Dark Shadows with Johnny Depp.
Vampire Videos is a podcast taking a look at this iconic blood-sucking monster on film and television.
I'm Dan Owen.
And I'm Hugh McStay.
And we're here to guide you through a century of vampirism on film. From Hollywood's golden age with Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula,
to the more lurid hammer horrors of the 60s and 70s starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Through to the 80s boom in vampires, which brought these creatures of the night into the modern age.
And everything this century's had to offer us, from foreign and independent films, spoof comedies, and even teenage love stories. Yes, I'm talking about Twilight.
We aim to cover it all, one bite at a time.
So join us on a voyage into the depths of vampire cinema, old and new, with weekly guests offering their own insights and expertise. And why not follow us on Twitter at VampVideos?
A proud part of the We Made This podcast network, subscribe now to Vampire Videos, and thanks for listening.